Blog Talk Radio. Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Wellness Coach on Blog Talk Radio. You are in for a really special treat today. I have been reading the book Dog Medicine, which is actually out today, and I have the very special honor of having the author, Julie Barton, in the studio with me. This is a just incredible book. It's really affected me, and it's been really therapeutic, and again, it's just such an honor to have Julie here today on the day that it actually comes out. So we're going to be talking about the book Dog Medicine. Dog Medicine is the story of a woman in deep depression, saved only by the love of a dog, who taught her what true love looked like. At 22, Julie Barton collapsed on her kitchen floor in Manhattan. She was 1 year out of college and severely depressed. Summoned by Julie's incoherent phone call, her mother raced from Ohio to New York and took her home. Psychiatrists, therapists, and family tried to intervene, but nothing reached her until the day she decided to do one hopeful thing: adopt a golden retriever puppy she named Bunker. Dog Medicine captures in beautiful, elegiac language the anguish of depression, the slow path to recovery, and the astonishing way animals can heal even the most broken hearts and minds. Join me today as I interview the author of Dog Medicine, Julie Barton, as we discuss this moving, heart-wrenching, life-saving, and life-affirming book. If you live in Portland, Oregon, come meet Julie this Friday, November 13th, for a reading at 7 p.m. at Another Read-Through. On that note, I'm going to welcome Julie into the studio. Hi, Julie. How are you? Thanks for being here today.
Hi. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for that.
Oh, my goodness. Thanks to you. And Julie, I just have to thank you for such a beautiful book. It's hard for me to even put into words how this book has affected me. And I have to be honest, it drew me right in. You're an amazing storyteller, and so I was dropped right. Yeah, and that's, I think, becoming more and more rare in this day and age. And this is a memoir, and it's also a different kind of memoir, which I know that some people have already been saying. I mean, you've been getting a lot of buzz about this book, and you've already the first edition's already sold out.
Yeah.
And it hasn't even
incredible.
Just launched today. I just want to thank you for your amazing storytelling and for the gift of your writing and for the gift of this story. And I really had to. As I told you, I've reached the section called Dog Medicine, and I was so affected because I'm a huge animal lover. In addition to being not only a writer myself, but a reader, a lover of literature and books, I'm an animal lover. And Julie, I was just wondering if you could tell us your story and, how did this book come about? Of course, I'd love to ask you, how did your dog save you? But if you could drop us into wherever it feels best for you, into the journey of Dog Medicine, how this book came to life, or what's most relevant for you in this moment.
Yeah. Oh, this is a big moment. It's a really big moment for me to talk to you today on the day of the launch. The book, it was a long time before it took shape, and I think that's just the nature of writing, and it's the nature of memoir. It's a really, really hard process, but it's also a really beautiful process. The story, I mean, I can tell you the story in a nutshell. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read it yet. But, you know, I didn't know. It was 1996 when I had, I don't know what you call it. You could call it a breakdown, but I couldn't go on. And I collapsed on my kitchen floor, and I thought, either I'm just going to give up and lie here until I die, or I'm going to kill myself. Or, I mean, I was extraordinarily suicidal. I was very depressed. I didn't know what was going on because in 1996, I'd never heard of depression as a disease. I didn't know what that was. It wasn't in the public lexicon. And so I didn't know what was going on. I just thought I was weak. I thought I was stupid. I thought there was something wrong with me. And so, you know, I called my mom. She jumped in the car. She came and got me. And I went home and I tried to regroup, and I wanted to be an independent person. I wanted to be okay in life, and I really wasn't because my mind was not healthy. And doctors tried to reach me, and therapists tried to reach me, and my parents tried to reach me, and I was sinking further and further. But all my life, dogs and animals and nature have been a deep, deep solace for me. And so the first idea that I had about what might help me was getting a dog. And of course my parents were like, okay, let's go get a dog. And and I looked and I didn't find him right away, but when I found him, it was like, there you are. I've been looking for you. It was like we both felt that. It was a real amazing, I don't know, a spiritual moment where this dog and I were like, here we go. Now we're going to be in this together. And I'll never forget the first morning I woke up with him next to me. It was the first morning of my life that I woke up and didn't feel dread. I didn't know that I could wake up and not have that heavy feeling sitting on my chest. And then, the story continues with me trying again at a new city. And, Bunker taught me so much about, stillness, being still, being kind, approaching people with love and vulnerability. And, he changed my life. And, you haven't gotten there yet in the book, but there's a point where his life is in jeopardy. And, in the past, had something been difficult, a roadblock, something really scary or challenging, I would have crawled into bed and gotten under the covers and waited for it to pass or waited for it to do me in. But with him, I was absolutely determined to save his life. And it proved to me that I had strength. I had strength, and I had the capacity to save him and to, so he saved me, and then I saved him. And then all along the way, there's family issues that I learned to deal with and learned to forgive and understand. And then there's love, romantic love, and there's friendship that, he taught me how to, see romantic love in a whole new way, because I didn't feel desperation in the past. I felt with my boyfriends that if they didn't love me or call me or, show in, extreme or constant ways that they loved me, that I wasn't okay. And with Bunker around, I didn't need that. And also I was able to see, wait a minute, maybe that's not how it's supposed to be. Maybe it's supposed to just be easier.
Like a different paradigm.
So a different paradigm, yeah. And so, there's I cover a lot of topics in the book. Do you want to talk about one in particular?
Absolutely. So if it's okay with you, I know that you said you didn't want to give away too much, but of course, the two things that really, well, actually there there are three things that really strike me so far in the book that as far as I've read, and beyond just your storytelling and your writing, which is, again, such a gift, is the topic of depression, and of course, dog medicine, which I would love to get into, maybe in the second half. But and also just like how do animals, how do animals have such a different language and a different experience, and the human animal bond is I think extremely challenging to put into words, and yet it's such a, so many people experience it, and not only that but need it. I think just that. Yeah. And so I would love to explore that, and I know that you had graciously offered to maybe read something if we have time, and I know that we only have 20 minutes here. However, but then I have to say, Julie, that in the very beginning, I was very struck by. Is it okay if I say this? Like the violence that happened. Is that, or do you not want to give that away? I mean,
That's fine.
So you experienced sibling violence, and I was so affected by that. I've been through domestic violence myself, so I could kind of relate to it, and it was very shocking. And yet I think that's why dog medicine, like the love of an animal, isn't that why that you needed that type of love, like that unconditional love, and a completely different paradigm in order to heal you. I mean, those are the topics that stand out for me. But I'll let you. Please share.
I mean,
stories.
dog medicine for me started very, very early because, when I was not feeling safe or okay, I would take my dog into my room, and it was the touch of having a living, breathing being with me, leaning on me, or, licking my toes or anything. It was a distraction, but it was also a really, really deep solace for me as a kid. And, I was always identified as such an animal lover, and I had a menagerie in my bedroom as a kid. I had guinea pigs and hamsters, and, I couldn't get enough. It was really, and I think that part of the reason dog medicine is so effective, or cat medicine, or, I've heard from people horse medicine, because they meet us in an entirely different way. They meet us without words, which is a real gift. They meet us with optimism and a stillness, and like they don't have a tortured consciousness. They just don't. There's studies about the effect of a dog on the human body, and they literally release oxytocin when you're with the dog. I think that's what it is, but they make you feel calm. Like I'll be walking down the sidewalk and somebody will have a dog, or I'll have my dog, and the whole, even the social interaction changes. A door opens. Somebody leans down to pet a dog and starts a conversation. And that was one of the things that was really incredible for me when I first got Bunker, was I could talk to people about this beautiful animal that I had, and it was a door. It was a door. And
fascinating.
They're perfectly willing to lie in bed with you, and also they need you. That was one of the big issues of getting Bunker, was it was my responsibility to take care of him, and I was absolutely sure that I could do it, and I hadn't been sure of anything in years. And I knew I could train him, and I knew I could teach him, and I knew I could keep him healthy and feed him and walk him, and I could do all of that. And that made me feel capable. Because when you're depressed, a lot of people think, she can't do anything, so let's just let her have some space, and let's just leave her alone, and let her sleep, and let her do whatever. And you start to believe that maybe they're not letting me, or not asking me to do anything, because they don't think I'm capable. Because the depressed mind will twist anything. It will twist anything into a way to make you feel bad or feel worse. And your dog needs you. Your dog needs you to get up, needs you to go outside, needs you to, and that to me was great medicine. Just that needs I knew I could fulfill. I
love that.
Yeah. And so, and depression it's a wily and difficult disease, and it is very much a disease. And I'm very open with people about my depression, obviously, and I treat it like any disease. In that, if I feel like I'm sinking, I go straight to my therapist, to my counselor, and if I need to change my medication, which I am on medication, and I will always be on medication for the rest of my life because I've tried to go off and it just doesn't work. But it's a real challenge. 350 million people suffer from it. 1 in 4 people in America suffer from depression. Every 13 minutes, somebody commits suicide. Oh. And it's the third. Suicide is the third leading cause of death in the United States, behind cancer and heart disease. And we're talking about cancer, and we're talking about heart disease. We're not really talking about suicide the way that we need to yet. The way we, everybody's so scared of it, and there's so much shame, and I understand. So that's why I feel like this is such an important story, because it's easy to talk about depression when you go in through a dog. When you go into the least depressing species on Earth, I mean,
oh my goodness, right? What a great analogy!
Yeah, we
it's
can
so
talk
true.
about this. We can talk about this and not feel shame, and not feel fear, and not feel sorrow and sadness, and actually realize that those are wonderful things to feel. It's okay to feel sorrow. It's okay. I mean, that's the problem with depression. So many people are like, I shouldn't feel bad. I shouldn't feel sad. I shouldn't feel this or that. And that's actually one of the leading causes of depression, is denying your emotions. And so, I the more I really wrote, the more I realized, like, yeah, this is a really good way in. And also, when you're writing memoir and you want to write it from your soul, from the center of the core of your heart, it has to be the thing is more true to you than anything in the whole entire world. And, I always say there are 2 things I'm sure of in this world. One is that my dog saved my life, and 2 is that I married the right man. Thank goodness. But number 1 is it was a huge thing for me, and it was also pretty scary to think I'm going to dedicate years and years of my life to talking about my dog who died in 2007. I went to, I wrote this in a recent interview, that I went to a high school when I was in the beginning phases of writing this story, and I said to the class, I was teaching a memoir class, and I said, I'm writing a book about when I was in my early 20s and I was depressed, and nothing helped me. The only thing that saved me was a dog. And this young man in the class laughed out loud, not in a nice way, in a way that was like, that's stupid, And I thought, okay,
then you're onto something.
I'm going to take that and go, you know what? I'm going to tell this story. I'm going to tell the truth of this story. I really am going to tell the truth of this story. And people may not get it at first, and that's okay. That's fine. Like, I'll lead them in gently. This is my truth. And this is the one thing I know
your truth.
For sure.
It's what you know for sure, and it's also your story. And there's nothing right or wrong about that. It's your story, and it's having the courage. It's having the courage to tell your story. I think that's what everybody wants, and so you're giving other people permission to
absolutely
let their lives be what they are. And so
no matter who laughs.
I thank you for that. Yeah, no matter who laughs.
Thank
I mean,
you.
that's just fear. That's fear coming from a young man.
It is. Yeah, it is. But it also was it was enlightening for me, because I went, okay, all right, I'm gonna still do this. I'm gonna keep going. And that's the beautiful thing about memoir, is that when you do really write your truth, when you do really sit down and write the scariest, hardest, most beautiful things, what you'll discover, I really feel like 99% of the time, what you'll discover is there's so much love in everybody and in everything and in earth and in so many creatures, and everybody we're coming at it with good intentions, I mean, even my brother, I realized writing the story, like, when this happened, he was a child, right? I I mean, he was doing some pretty horrific things, and I suffered pretty greatly. But he was also a child, and he was hurting, and it was a real revelation for me to write that and think really deeply about that. And it changed me. It really did.
I'm glad that it did, and I have to say that so my heart goes out to you that you suffered through that, and that, but also that you came out of it. And I know that your publisher, Think Peace Publishing, is all about representing life-affirming stories of positive recovery, and so there is the other side to no matter how much you suffered, you can pull out of it. I really believe that, and I also have to say that just the love of an animal is a different kind of love, and when you've been through trauma, sometimes that's the only kind of love that can pull you out of it, because it is pure and it's so different. It can protect you, and that's why I think, Julie, that I had to really, really slow down when I reached the part in your book about dog medicine, because I was so affected. After I've been through trauma myself, and I was so affected. I'm like, I had to breathe and slow down and let it be my medicine too. So I just thank you for that. And I was wondering, I know we only have a few minutes, and I do want to remind people that you are going to be at another read-through here in Portland, Oregon on Friday, November 13th at 7 p.m. for anyone who wants to come and hear you talk about your book and read from your book. And we just wanted to mention that.
It's a dog-friendly event. Dogs are welcome to come.
Dog-friendly event. I love that. Love it, love it, love it. And I have to say, I've always loved animals, and I have cats, and I was visiting family back east, and my sister has 2 dogs, and one's a puppy, a 4-month-old lab, and the other one's a year-old border collie, and I experienced my dog medicine too. I was just like, I can't believe I've been missing this, and now I need to get a dog. So that's a different subject. But with the few minutes that we have left here, Julie, first I want to mention, first of all, how can people get your book, Dog Medicine? Again, it's out today. I mean, how exciting is that? And congratulations. I mean, just congratulations as an author, as a writer, and just with your first book. I mean, you really, it's so exciting. And again,
Thank
that's the first edition.
Yeah.
It's already sold out, and it's just coming out today.
I know. We sold out of our first edition before it was launched, and there've been some indications that we're onto something, because that certain articles have been shared several thousand times, and you're like, okay, I think we're onto something. But people can get the book, first go to your independent bookstore, go to another read through, go to and if they don't have it, just ask them to order it. But you can also get it on, Palace.com, you can get it on Amazon.com, you can get it at Barnes & Noble. And if your local bookstore doesn't have it in stock, ask them to stock it. Tell them they won't be sorry.
Absolutely. Again, this is really a breakthrough book and memoir, and it's been such an honor to read it. And so, Julie, I wanted to take a really, really short break, and we have about 6 minutes, but would you be open to reading something from your book?
I'd be happy to, yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, we're going to take a really short break. You've been listening to The Wellness Coach on Blog Talk Radio, and my guest today is Julie Barton, the author of Dog Medicine. We'll be right back. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. You're listening to The Wellness Coach on Blog Talk Radio. My very special guest today is author Julie Barton, and she has written a memoir called Dog Medicine, and she's very graciously offered to read from her book today. In our final remaining moments here, Julie is going to share with you just a little bit of this extremely heartwarming, therapeutic, once-in-a-lifetime read book, Dog Medicine. and highly recommend that you go pick up your own copy. And like Julie said, ask your bookstore to bring it in. And reading books and reading are very much alive, and thank goodness. And stories are still alive, and we encourage you to share your own story. And thank you so much, Julie, for sharing yours today. So
My
go
pleasure.
ahead, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'll read a little bit from the dog medicine chapter that you mentioned.
Awesome.
Not the whole thing, but parts of it. And here we go. It's called Dog Medicine. It's midway through the book, and it's mid-July of 1996. Bunker had been with me for 3 days, and we'd established a routine. Wake up, pee, poop, eat, walk, play, nap, and repeat. He was already mostly house-trained. He'd had only one accident on the carpet. I taught him to sit and make eye contact, and he did so eagerly, wanting to please, ready for the next command. Waking up in the morning was getting easier, but something dark still lingered, and on this particular day, for no discernible reason, the darkness reared its ugly head, unannounced, worse than ever, like a thread-thin worm that had covertly dug itself back into my body from underneath a fingernail. It said, "Oh, no, you don't. I see you trying to pretend you're happy, trying to fool people that you're not a lazy, ugly idiot." I felt punished, as if my captor had caught me trying to escape. Perhaps those awful thoughts had never left, but just lay dormant for a while. I wanted to fight. I tried hard to push the negativity away, but it persisted. Just getting a dog can't cure me, I thought. I was the problem. I wasn't strong enough. I was a failure, a crazy person. I was truly unlikable. I believed this, like I believed that the earth was round, something I couldn't see, but understood to be true because I had been told it was so. I walked to the maroon living room couch and sat down, feeling both afraid and comforted by the reappearing blackness, comforted because I knew depression so well. Depression was my companion. The seductive descent into the awful depths marked the return of an old dark friend that I genuinely, honestly missed. My face was still in my hands when I felt warmth on my toes. Bunker had walked over to me and sat down on my feet. I pulled my hands away from my face and saw him sitting, looking up at me, his butt squarely on my toes, his back leaning into my shins. His face held curiosity, his fevered puppy energy completely contained. He glanced away for a few moments and then turned back as if to ask, "Better?" Really? I thought, really? Could this dog somehow sense when I was sad and comfort me? I'd heard of seeing eye dogs. I'd heard of dogs who could sniff out drugs in a suitcase, but a dog who could detect sadness? I wondered if these new psychiatric drugs were causing me to overly anthropomorphize my dog, but I needed so desperately to be comforted. I needed a companion who had no judgment, with whom I had no history, who would make it known that I was loved, who would never, ever hurt me. I don't know why it worked. All I can ponder is that this kind of healing required the safety of a true companion and no resistance. Bunker was still sitting on my feet, still looking at me. His feather-soft fur tickled my legs, and I picked him up, his puppy legs dangling. I cradled his body. He let his tongue drop out of the side of his opened mouth. That sight alone made me smile. I leaned back into the couch and held him to my chest. He curled into me as if he felt as protected as I did. I took a deep breath and felt the blackness loosen its grip. Dog medicine. I'd found it, and I swallowed it whole.
Wow. I just got chills, and that's, you couldn't say it better than that. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. And just for anyone, thank you. We have a few live listeners. We're about to go off the air in about 25 seconds here. The recording will continue. You can listen to the replay if you want to hear the very, very end of this. Blog Talk Radio will allow us to talk just for a few more minutes here. We just want to thank you so much for listening live, everyone. And Julie, thank you so much for being here. I just really appreciate it, and it was just it's been so therapeutic to read your book, and I just again really thank you for having the courage to share your story. And
thank you.
So, and again, for anyone who wants to get your book, again, let's just share that information. So the book, of course, is called Dog Medicine. And again, where can they find it? And also, where can they find out more about you and anything else that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, my website is byjuliebarton.com, juliebarton.com. That has a lot of the information about where you can meet me, or if you'd like me to, come to your town and I'm not coming there yet, send me a note and we'll see if we can get that working. And go to your local bookstore and ask for it. And if they don't have it, order it. And it is the first print run did sell out, but we have more on the way. So don't fret. It will only be a day or two.
Don't worry.
Don't worry.
And also your publisher is Think Peace Publishing. So I look forward to meeting both you and Adam on Friday. And again, thank you so much for being here today, Julie. And enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of this momentous day. And congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much.
Take care. I'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.